Welcome back to the Healthy Self, Healthy Family Education video series. Today, we are going to talk about self-care. Let's start by defining what it means. Self-care is any activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. Self-care is a broad term that encompasses just about anything you do to be good to yourself. It is about being as kind to yourself as you would be to others. It is also about knowing when your resources are running low and stepping back to replenish them, rather than letting them all drain away. Meanwhile, it also involves integrating self-compassion into your life in a way that helps you prevent even the possibility of burnout. It is just as important to define what is not self-care so we are clear about how we can best treat ourselves. While self-care is often an action that feels good for us, an action that feels good doesn't mean it's self-care. Let's take an example. For some of us, eating chocolate feels very nice. It is true that if we eat a little bit of chocolate, it can help us feel better. But we also know that overeating chocolate can cause us health problems. So for this reason, just because eating lots and lots of chocolate might temporarily feel good, that doesn't mean that it is good. The same can be said about drinking alcohol or doing any other activity that feels good in the moment but has harmful long-term effects. The point is that self-care must both feel good and be good for our mind and our body. Is self-care a selfish act? One common myth is that self-care may be selfish because you are focusing on your own needs. But it is important to note that self-care isn't a selfish act. It is not only about considering our own needs. It is rather about knowing what we need to do in order to take care of ourselves so that we are able to take care of others as well. That is, if I don't take care enough of myself, I won't be in the place to give my loved ones the care that they need either. For those people who have families, they know how difficult it can be to take care of their children. If you're not giving yourself the time to relax and take care of your body and mind, you won't be able to take care of your children in the long term. The 3 rules of self-care. There are 3 basic rules when thinking about how to incorporate self-care into your life. Number 1, stick to the basics. Over time, you'll find your own rhythm and routine. You will be able to implement more and identify more particular forms of self-care that work for you. Self-care needs to be something you actively plan, rather than something that just happens. It is an active choice, and you must treat it as such. Add certain activities to your calendar, announce plans to others in order to increase your commitment, and actively look out for opportunities to practice self-care. And number 3, keeping a conscious mind. Keeping a conscious mind is what counts. In other words, if you don't see something as self-care, or you don't do something in order to take care of yourself, it won't work as such. Be aware of what you do, why you do it, how it feels, and what the outcomes are. The benefits of self-care. There are 4 benefits that we will outline here that allow self-care to help you. Number 1, better productivity. When you learn how to say no to things that overextend you and start making time for things that matter more, you slow life down in a wonderful way. This brings your goals into sharper focus, helps you concentrate on what you're doing. Number 2, improved physical health. With better self-care often comes fewer colds, cases of flus, and upset stomachs. And this is because Self-care activates something called your parasympathetic nervous system. What this means is that your body goes into a restful mode, helping to strengthen its immune system. Less stress and a better immune system can surely help you feel more physically able and strong inside and out. Number 3, enhance self-esteem. When you regularly carve out the time that's only about being good to yourself and meeting your own needs, you send a positive message to yourself, and that can go a long way towards discouraging negative thoughts. And finally, number 4, increase self-knowledge. Practicing self-care requires that you think about what you love to do. The exercise of figuring out what makes you feel passionate and inspired can help you better understand yourself. There are 5 types of self-care we will discuss. It is important that you remember that for every individual, there are his or her own preferences when it comes to different self-care activities. The activities that we will present here are just suggestions. Sensory self-care. Sensory self-care is all about helping you calm your mind. When you're able to tune into the details of sensations all around you, it is easier to live in the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, you can more effectively let go of thoughts related to the past or anxieties about the future. When you're thinking about practicing sensory self-care, consider all of your senses: touch, smell, sound, sight, and taste. Most people are more responsive to one than others, so ask yourself, what sense might be for you? Here are some examples of sensory self-care. Cuddling up under a soft blanket. Feeling the water on your skin during a hot bath or shower. Having a small square of the most delicious chocolate. Or focusing on the movements of your own breathing. Please pause the video and think of 1 or 2 sensory self-care ideas that you can include in your life. Emotional self-care. When it comes to your emotional health, one of the best self-care tips is to make sure you fully engage with your emotions. When you face them head-on, this actually helps you with stress. You may feel tempted to push down feelings like sadness or anger, but it's healthy to feel them, accept them, and move on. Remember, emotions are not good or bad themselves. You can't blame yourself on how you feel, but you can control how you behave or respond to these emotions. Here are some ideas you can consider for emotional self-care. Keeping a daily journal and being honest about your feelings. Letting yourself cry when you need to. Making time to be with a family member or friend who truly understands you. Singing along to a song that best expresses your current emotions. Please pause the video again and think of 1 or 2 emotional self-care ideas you can include in your life. Spiritual self-care. Spiritual self-care isn't just about believing in a God. It is applicable to atheists and agnostics as much as it is to religious people. Spiritual self-care is about getting in touch with your values and what really matters to you. Here are some examples of spiritual self-care ideas. Attending a religious service, reading poetry, making a list of 5 to 10 things that make you feel grateful for life, saying affirmations that ground your sense of self and purpose. Please pause the video and think of 1 or 2 spiritual self-care ideas you can include in your life. Physical self-care. The importance of self-care definitely extends to beyond purely physical aspects of your health. Physical activity is important not only for your bodily well-being, but also for helping you let off some steam. Because we know that our mind and body are connected. So the relief of your bodily pains or stress will in turn affect you relieve the stresses on your mind. Here are some ideas for physical self-care. Dancing to your favorite songs. Doing yoga. Even if you haven't tried yoga before, there are many poses that are perfect for beginners. Joining a class or learning a new sport. Or simply just going for a walk outside. In addition to these ideas, please remember that physical self-care is as much about the things that you don't do as they are as about things that you do. So, keeping in mind that sleep is also important. You might need a nap in the day. Even just 20 minutes can make you feel mentally and physically refreshed. Saying no to invitations when you're simply too tired to enjoy them. Not pushing yourself to an exercise routine if you're feeling physically unwell. And committing to 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. These are all examples of physical self-care ideas. Please pause the video and think of 1 or 2 physical self-care ideas that you can include in your life. And finally, social self-care. Connecting with other people is necessary for happiness for a large diversity of people. It helps you to understand that you are not alone. Plus, it can also give us a sense of being and completeness. This can help us combat loneliness and isolation. Social self-care isn't about just doing the things with others for the sake of it, but about choosing to do things with people who really make you feel good. I understand that during COVID-19, social self-care might be a bit different and more challenging than what we're used to. Try to think of some ways that you can still be social without having to physically see someone. It could be on social media, video chatting, telephoning, or simply meeting a friend at a safe distance. Each different idea here resonates with their own individual. So think of what works best for you. This concludes the presentation on self-care. Please feel free to contact us with your questions or comments on how you can best incorporate self-care into your life. Thank you and have a great day.